Is it good?
It's actually not bad. Yeah,
I've heard it's pretty good.
better than I was expecting.
The trailers made it look horrible.
Yeah, the trailers made it look horrible. Actually, not too bad though.
The trailer's
The trailers.
I am going to try to continue looking at this thing called World War IV, and seeing a couple of you make yourselves comfortable on beanbags leads me to my point that I'd like to make now before we kind of get into this, and that is this. I realized that we had a snow day yesterday, strike one, and today is Friday, strike two, and it's near the end of the day, strike three, and that it's hard for some of you to sort of focus for one more, a little bit like half hour, but I'm asking you to do it anyway. No one forced you to sign up for this class. You're here. Let's just make the best of it, okay? Besides, I think the material is kind of interesting, okay? So please extend me the courtesy of not being on your phone right now, and we're not going to throw things, and we're not going to twist a bottle and then watch the cap explode. We're not doing that. We're not for.
Can we do that after you're done lecturing?
Take it back.
Your mom.
Not a good start. All right.
No, not.
Solid start.
We are looking at something called World War IV, which is something I introduced to you a couple days ago. And that is because we define a world war as a war of isms. World War I was a war over empiricism, empires. World War II was a war over fascism or communism or capitalism. World War III was a war between communism and capitalism. World War IV is a war over how the world should be organized. And I would argue that the ism here is nationism, a belief that nations are a logical way to organize the world, versus radical fundamentalist thought of, no, that is not the way that you should organize the world. Tribes should be the way you organize the world. Religious domination should be the way you organize the world. And how that conflict is going. And I showed you before slides of how typical wars are fought. And now we're continuing that. Why are we in the Middle East? I showed you what these people want, this foe wants. And one thing is an end to American military presence in the Middle East. And the second thing is an end to American support for an illegal state, Israel. And the third is the most important one, an end of American culture. And we defined American culture as the ultimate freedom, the freedom to do what you want with your body, including poison it with McDonald's, alcohol, cigarettes, poison your body with nudie magazines and F-rated, filled movie, et cetera, that it is not the government's job to dictate what you watch or what you read or what you eat or what you drink. That is not the government's job. That is your parents' job or someday your job. Whereas in other parts of the world, that's exactly what the government's job is. The government is the parent. Okay. This slide is, why is the U.S. in the Middle East? If they want us out, why are we there? And answer number one is, you are looking at one of the world's leading suppliers of oil. Now, interestingly enough, the U.S. acquires no oil from the Middle East directly. We don't get our oil from there. Does anyone happen to know? Where do we get most of our oil? Fracking. Ourselves. Okay, very good. Number two. Number one resource for us is us. What is the number two source of oil for the U.S.? Canada. You're exactly right. Number three is? Texas is still part of the United States. Mexico. Very good. Okay. Primarily, those are our three sources. But still, we want to make sure that the world's oil supply is plentiful. For the time being, the world runs on fossil fuels. So some of you think, gee, we should use more wind power and solar power, and that's great, and that's lovely. But the reality is, it will not meet today's energy needs. Maybe someday, but not right now. So we need to maintain a military presence in the Middle East. to protect that oil supply. The second thing is we believe in this thing called Israel, the state of Israel. We believe it is a legally created entity created by the United Nations after World War II. The U.S. recognizes the authority of the United Nations to do that. And so we are here to maintain the existence of Israel. And I would argue that the Trump administration has really taken that to another level. Previous to the Trump administration, the United States always had our embassy in this city called Tel Aviv. Trump moved it to Jerusalem. And he's won wide praise by many and wide condemnation by many. That's pretty typical of this president, actually. Anyone wanted, why? What's the big deal about moving the American embassy to Jerusalem? So, big deal. Isn't Jerusalem in Israel? So what's the big deal? Does anyone know? Of what?
Jerusalem. Well, I mean, Israel.
Israel. Okay. Okay. So again, my question is, then doesn't it make sense? What would the criticism be? What was the criticism when the U.S. decided to move its embassy to Jerusalem? Why wouldn't that receive universal praise from everyone? A recognition that the capital, the holy city of Israel is Jerusalem. Shouldn't that be where the American embassy is? And this was just done like 6 weeks ago. And when he did it, I would say maybe 10% of the world thought great, and 90% said, "What are you doing?" Go ahead.
Like 90% of the world thinks that Israel shouldn't be a thing.
I don't know about 90%, but you're on the right track. Anyone else want to take a shot here?
Is it like sticking it right into the face of people who don't think so?
Yes, I think there's something there. The city of Jerusalem is the recognized capital of Jerusalem by Jews who live there. They recognize it, and the U.S. recognizes it. A whole lot of the world says, no, you can't have that be the capital of the Israeli state because so many non-Jews see that city as their capital. And imagine this. I know you're a little bit young for this, but when Brett Favre signed with the Vikings, so many Packer fans were like, oh my God, he can't do that. He can't play for that team because he was once on our team. And this is a fictional rivalry. It's a made-up rivalry. It's two teams who throw a ball. They throw a ball. And people around here get angry when my group that throws a ball does it better than your group that throws a ball. That's fake rivalry. I mean, yeah, it's important and all that, but it's not. In the end, it's not important. It doesn't matter. Yep, I said it. Football doesn't matter.
Get the pitchforks.
But nations matter. The state of Israel is a nation that wants to claim the city of Jerusalem as its capital. But there's another group, Arabs, who view that as their capital, and the American decision to recognize Jerusalem as the Israeli capital makes those people angry. Okay. The third big idea here is to support this idea of democracy. And I have here neoconservative. Anyone remember what the domino theory is? What was the domino theory? Go ahead.
One nation turned when one nation went some way, others would go the same.
Very good. And when did we study the domino theory? When give me the specific, if one nation went what?
Vietnam.
Communist, right? The belief was that if Vietnam became communist, then other countries in the southeast part of Asia would also become communist. Well, if it works for communism, why can't it work for democracy? If we establish a democratic country in, say, Iraq, why wouldn't other nations around Iraq say, gee, we want that? And so the belief is that we could spread democracy in the Middle East. Okay. And then number 4 is to actively confront these radicals that want to eliminate nation from the world. If they're actively trying to and nations. The U.S. military is there, wherever there is, to confront it. We are a global superpower. And what that means is, I'm sure you've heard that term before, but have you ever thought about what does that mean? It basically means this. We have the unique ability to confront militarily anyone, anywhere. Within a day, we could have thousands of soldiers anywhere. And no other country can say that at the present time. So if there's things going on in the Philippines, the U.S. has the ability to manipulate that, impact that. Middle East, we can do it. We have the unique ability to confront radical groups anywhere and everywhere. Okay. Any questions on this slide? My goal is to finish this little presentation and then just start a next one. And then hopefully you have a little bit of time because article summary number 2 is due today, right? That shouldn't be news to you, okay? If we were to make a list of advantages of these radical groups, advantages that they have in this military confrontation, anyone want to take a shot here? What advantage does Al-Qaeda or ISIS or any of these other radical groups, what advantage might they have? Go ahead. Very good. If the United States is confronting them in the middle of Afghanistan, that's where they're from. That's where they live. Think about the fact that during the American Civil War, the Union Army outnumbered the Confederate Army like 3-1. 3-1. And it was a really close war. Well, why? Because the Confederates knew where to go. They knew where to hide. They had the support of the local population. Very good. Go ahead. Very good. They don't have uniforms saying member of Al-Qaeda. But that's exactly what Americans have a uniform. If you randomly grouped a bunch of people, you could say, that's a soldier. And there's a soldier. There they are, even though you couldn't see them because of the camouflage. But you cannot do that with Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda has no distinctive uniform, no distinctive look. Very good. More. Go ahead. What?
I'm asking you a question from what you were just saying.
I don't know what the last 10 seconds was about. I'm trying to ask advantages of terrorist groups. You. What just happened? All right. Go ahead.
You don't have targets, you just go up.
Very good. Where's Al-Qaeda Islam? The reason that Al-Qaeda was so easily able to directly hit the Twin Towers is because they're easily identifiable target. There they are. We have targets everywhere in our country. Everywhere and everywhere. Where is Al-Qaeda's central location? I don't know. It's probably a cave somewhere. Right? It's hard to identify legit targets. Easy for them, hard for us. Is your hand in the air or are you just playing with your ponytail?
Down.
Okay, go ahead.
They don't have to follow the rules.
Right. They don't have to follow the rules. We talked about that already. Very good. They're not bound by these annoying Geneva Conventions about torture and all that crap. Okay? So they can kidnap people on a plane, crash them into a building. And when we say things like, you can't do that, their response is, yeah, we can. Look what just happened. Okay. Anything else? Wonderful. So let me just add to that list some other things. Well-financed means that they have money. You are looking at a world map which shows if it's green, that means financial support is coming from that country. Notice anything interesting?
We're that green.
We're a green country. There are financial supporters of radical groups in the United States, and that is partly because we are a free country, and as a result, the government does not observe every move everybody makes. And so there's a lot of questionable activity that our government doesn't see. Okay? Let's keep going. Multinational, no easy target, small, and no uniforms. What that means is there's not a distinctive look of a terrorist. I know some of you think, yeah, there is. Towel head, big beard, dynamite vest. No, stop it. any race, any culture, any gender, any age. You cannot know who is a terrorist just by looking at them. Sorry, you can't. Okay. And again, hit where? Where do they can hit us easy? They know where we are. We're not going to move America. We're not going to hide behind a tree. They won't see us here. But that's exactly what they can. They can hide. They can hide. Hard to find. This third idea up here is the fanatical part, the blind obedience. One of the things that you as an American should learn is healthy skepticism. You should always look at any decision the U.S. makes and question it. You should look at any decision that you should make and think about it. Don't just blindly accept what anybody tells you to be true. But when you're a fanatic, that's exactly what happens. The religious fanatic obeys his religious leader. That's one of the aspects. Anybody take sociology? Remember when we studied cults? When the leader says, do it, you do it. You do. Yeah, exactly. You drink the Kool-Aid. Very good. There's no questioning it. Okay. Well, that's fanatical. That's blind obedience. Pretty easy to tell those people to blow themselves up if they do not question, if they are not skeptical of your decisions. We talked about this one, the no annoying rules. Does any of you recognize who that is? His name is Pearl. I can't remember what his first name is. This is the moment before they sawed his head off. So what terrorist groups will do is they will kidnap people and then make a video of it, and they'll videotape the execution, and then they'll send it to the family as a memento. And American soldiers don't legally do this. Now, do some Americans do it? Yep. I've already shown you those awful pictures, right, of American behavior in Iraq and all that crap. But it's not legal. Those soldiers were punished for their actions. Am I distracting you guys? This guy was executed by beheading, and they sent the video. Now, were they told, gee, you can't do that? Yeah. Of course not. Well, of course they were told, but what do they care? They don't have to go with the rules like Americans do. Well, that's advantage now. On the other hand, it's not like the U.S. is powerless to confront these things. We also have some advantages here. One is technology, right? Best weapons in the world, best military in the world. We could take on the next 5 countries, and it would be a fair fight, right? We spend more on our military than the next 10 countries combined, right? Number 2 is China, and it's a distant number 2. Right now, I believe the U.S. has 14 aircraft carriers, and the second most is China with 1, in a tie with a bunch of other countries. But China's a slightly larger. I don't know. By far the best military, the best Navy, best Air Force, et cetera, et cetera. This map here is a really fascinating map. In red shows American military influence or actual presence, right? So really red is there are soldiers there. Direct American soldiers are present. Slightly less red is that the U.S. military has a relationship with that country. And then white would be, well, officially no military presence, even though there probably is some sort of secret operation going on in some of them, right? I mean, look at the world and how red it is. That's a red world.
How would we be there? They're planning something.
No wonder we are able to react pretty quickly, no matter where things are going. Okay, last slide here, and then we're going to shift gears here. I just want to remind you of what happened. We are going to look at this not as the beginning, but as the middle. This is the middle of a story that I'm going to start telling you next week. Okay, what that means is that there were other things that happened before this, and then there was this, and then obviously things happened after this. But so this is obviously September 11th, 2001. A number of planes kidnapped by 19 hijackers. There's that mysterious 20th hijacker that apparently they got. But anyway, 19 people on 5 planes. Number 1, number 2, number 3 crashed into the Pentagon. 4 planes. And then number 4 crashed into field in Pennsylvania. The people on board realized, because this is the beginning of cell phones, right? The real extension of cell phones. So these attacks already happened, and the people on plane number 4 were called by their relatives and told what happened. And so they were on the plane that had been hijacked, and they figured out, okay, we need to do something here, or this plane's going to crash into whatever. And experts think it was headed for the U.S. Capitol. And so they stormed the cockpit and took over, but not in time, and failed to prevent the plane from crashing into a cornfield in Pennsylvania. The group that did this was Al Qaeda. And so if you're the U.S., you need to figure out where's Al Qaeda, right? Where's Al Qaeda? Okay. And what they figured out was Al Qaeda was a group in Afghanistan. Used to be called the Mujahideen. I should be able to ask you this, and you should be able to answer this. Try it. See if you and your neighbor can agree. Let me ask the question, and then you and your neighbor, 15 seconds, answer it. Why? Why did they do that? Why did they do that? Go. If you don't know the answer, I have failed as a teacher.
Because George Bush was like, you know what?
No.
Well,
Answer with your neighbor. Then I will gladly welcome your questions. Why?
Because Saudi Arabia took our help instead of theirs.
Why did they do this?
One reason.
Why? Okay, ready? Tell me. Somebody, raise your hand. Tell me. Don't give me a stupid answer. Yes. Sorry? Yes, the nature of terrorism is to get you to fear, to get you to think that could have been me. I guess I'm being more specific than that. I'm not asking for general, why do terrorists do what they do? Why did those terrorists do this? Yeah, why don't you know this? Yes. There. Removal of American military influence in the Middle East. Why else? Come on, what's the biggie? Yes. Okay, again, I would argue an end to American military influence. What's the main reason? Or give me some specific examples. Yes.
Saudi Arabia.
McDonald's. Yes. Walmart. Yes. Alcohol. Exactly. The McDonaldization of Earth. You and I would think, sweet. No. The or the Walmartization. Walmartization. It's a noun. It means the same thing as McDonaldization. The McDonaldization of the world. They don't want it. U.S. figured out, I mean, you're looking at the world's largest crime scene. The world's largest crime scene. But the U.S. was able to figure out through various investigations that it was a group called Al Qaeda, and they figured out where Al Qaeda was 1 month after this. 1 month later, the U.S. was in Afghanistan hunting down members of Al Qaeda. Okay, so it says here, so October 7th. So September 11th, slightly less than 1 month later, the United States invades Afghanistan. How many of you would be able to tell me the difference between this group called Al Qaeda and this other group called the Taliban? You know the difference. Don't tell me, but you know the difference. I would say that the lack of reaction is accurate of Americans. Most Americans think Al Qaeda is the Taliban. It's the same thing. No, it isn't. They are not the same thing. Tell us what the difference is.
Al Qaeda did 9/11 and Taliban didn't.
Well, that's true. Okay, that's true. You're right. You're right. There's nothing wrong with what she just said. Al Qaeda did 9/11. Taliban didn't. That's true. Yep.
There, Taliban is a political group in Afghanistan, whereas Al Qaeda is a radical group that was allowed by the Taliban to train.
Very good. Okay, think of this. Think of the in our own country. Think of the Democrats, the Republicans, and then think of the KKK. Okay. So, do they both exist in the United States? But I don't think anyone would argue that Democrats or Republicans are the KKK or that. Now, does that mean that no member of either political party can't be a member of the KKK? Sure they can. There might be an overlap in the Venn circle, but they're two different groups. Democrats and Republicans try and run the country. The KKK is a radical terrorist group that wants bigger goals and all that. Same thing. The Taliban runs Afghanistan. Al-Qaeda is a terrorist group inside of Afghanistan. So the United States, before October 7th, approached the Taliban and said, hey, there's a group in your country that attacked us on 9/11. Either you round these people up and turn them over to us, or we will. And the Taliban said, you do it. Not with our permission, by the way. No, you do not have permission to retrieve these people, and we did it anyway. Okay? The United States invaded Afghanistan, hunting down members of Al-Qaeda. Now, if you're Al-Qaeda and the U.S. has just invaded Afghanistan, you can stay and fight, which many did, or you can flee. You can flee, and most of them fled to neighboring Pakistan. Now, if you're the U.S. military, you can chase them, and if you chase them, now you're risking making Pakistan angry at us, or you can send in the drones and then say to Pakistan, hey, we didn't go in there. Oh, those robots did, but that's not us. Okay. Last slide, I promise. This is the nature of warfare for the U.S. During World War IV. Who does the U.S. confront? What does it look like? And it's going to be against groups. Al-Qaeda, ISIS, radical groups. Okay? Hamas is another one. Hezbollah, groups within Iraq. Second problem is the problem of spreading nuclear weapons, nuclear proliferation. We're going to see if Iran's got nukes. We're going to see if North Korea's got nukes. Third reality is this thing called tribalism, the breaking up of nations. Sudan, when I was your age, it was one country. Today it's 2 and counting. Soviet Union, when I was your age, it was one country. Today it's 17. Yugoslavia, when I was your age, it was one country. Today it's 5. Right? The breaking apart of nations into tribes rather than nations. And then, of course, the Israeli conflict with the Palestinians. We kind of hinted at it today with the capital of Jerusalem. And various, what they call intra-religious warfare. Groups of Muslims fighting other groups of Muslims. The Sunnis fighting the Shiites. This is the reality of warfare today. Almost every conflict that exists fits one of these categories. Okay. Any questions? Take a mental break. I just have a minute here. Just want to sort of whet the appetite so that next week we can start thinking about it, and then just cover a little bit more, and then you'll have the rest of the hour. Okay.
German.
Okay, I'm ready. I am going to show you various things that other countries do to combat terrorism. And next week, I'm going to ask you to think about, should the U.S. do these things? Should the U.S. go as far as other nations are concerned? So let's start with Germany. During the Cold War, you are looking at the KKK of Germany, the Baader-Meinhof gang. They are to West Germany what the KKK was to the U.S., the most notorious terrorist group in West Germany. Okay, you're looking at the members, and you're now looking at the event of the Baader-Meinhof gang. They blowed up a NATO base. Okay, and the picture captures it. So these guys are bad-mouthed foes. Okay, and now I'm showing you what the West German government did to combat the efforts of the Baader-Meinhof gang. You do not need to memorize this stuff. You don't even need to write it down. All I'm asking you to do is look at these things and think, that's a good idea, We should do that, or that's a little too far, right? You know that one of the safest countries on earth was Nazi Germany? Man, it was safe. If you were the right skin color, you could walk right downtown Berlin, no problem. Very safe, not real free, right? Really, really safe, not very free. There's another place. It's called Somalia. Incredibly free. Man, you can grab a knife and go and stab your neighbor. No one will do anything. Very free, pretty dangerous. Nazi Germany, very safe, not very free. Somalia, really free, incredibly dangerous. Where are we? Where are we? Our government has two opposing goals. Keep us safe, but let you be free. Those two things don't work together. They are opposing. And so we are constantly fighting this battle. Should they be able to search your luggage when you get on an airplane? It violates your right to privacy, but it keeps you safe. Okay. So all I'm asking you to do is look at these things and be ready to discuss next week. Good idea, we should do that, or a little bit too far. Number one, every single person that works for the German government takes an oath of loyalty. I swear I'll never do that again. All right, now, not too radical there. I don't think that's right. Number two, the organization itself is criminal. Is the KKK illegal? No, it isn't. You can be a member of the KKK. Go ahead. Don't lynch anybody. The acts are illegal, but the organization itself is not. But in Germany, the organization itself is illegal. Did you know it's illegal to be a Nazi in Germany? But it is not illegal to be a Nazi here. It's a different approach. Maybe we should make Nazi illegal here. Maybe we should make the KKK illegal. Do you think so? Or is that a little too far? Okay. Here's an interesting one. The police have the right to search entire buildings. In our country, what happens is the police, suspecting that you're, I don't know, a drug dealer, they get a warrant, they search your apartment only. They don't get to search everyone else's apartment. But in West Germany, one court order, the entire apartment is subject to police searches. Is that a good idea, or is that a little too far? Okay, let's keep going here. They have the ability to pull over anyone for no reason. Can the cops pull you over just because? Here, they can't. They need probable cause. They can't just pull you over because, wait a minute, you don't look like the owner of that car. You can't do that. Okay, they need a taillight out, or they need to say that you were swerving. They need probable cause. No probable cause necessary in Germany. Is that a good idea, or is that a little too far? Do you see potential for abuse here? Don't worry about that one. Don't worry about that one. And then here's an interesting one. No deals. In our country, we have a long and rich history of what's called turning states' evidence. Anyone know what it means? Let's say I arrest you because I think you're a drug dealer, right? Let's say that you had a couple pounds of the good stuff, and the cops arrest you. Is that the end of the arrest history? We arrest Tyler, and then the cops are like, high five, we got him, it's over? What do they do?
Where I got it.
Yeah, where did you get it? Now, what would be his incentive to answer that question?
I need a lawyer.
A reduced sentence, right? Then we arrest you. Where'd you get it? Where'd you get it? On up. They don't do that in Germany. No deals. Period. No deals. Okay. I'm done talking. There is a article summary that is due today. Again, if you're not done, we'll get it done eventually. There's supposed to be a computer cart in here, but I don't see it. I'll find it. I know there's only 10 minutes. Sorry. Okay, rest of the hour's all yours.
Well, make sure you have.